It's really amazing that this guitar, which has remained virtually unchanged for over half a century, can still inspire so many players and be one of the greatest electric guitars that you could ever play. Today we're going to talk about all the reasons why I love the Fender Telecaster and why I would even go so far as to say that this is my favorite guitar. Let's get started with some tone here, then we're going to talk about a bunch of different things, hear a bunch more tones. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Follow the links below where you can listen to some music, and I hope you enjoy. I think Josh Smith summed it up best when he said that the Telecaster is the only guitar that you could take to a straight-ahead jazz gig, a rock gig, a blues gig, a pop gig, and feel like he's not sacrificing tone, which brings me to the first thing that I love about the Fender Telecaster. It's truly amazing that a guitar that is so simple and again so virtually unchanged in 70 years now is really so versatile. It can do so many things, and not only do so many things but do them well. Considering that you're talking about something of an archaic slab of wood with a guitar neck on it and two pickups, it's really remarkable how many different tones this can get. The pickups themselves are powerful, they can be rich, but they also have that twang and that sultry side to them. They can be extremely expressive. This can give you one of the best crunch tones you've ever heard, giving you a nice fat tone, but with a beautiful top end that retains a clarity, growl, and twang that is unlike any other guitar that you can get. A beautiful woody quality tone that you get from the neck pickup that can be suitable for jazz, and because of the clarity you can even use them for all kinds of different varying effects and things. Now because of this, the Fender Telecaster, or one of its iterations, and you could argue that the Telecaster is in itself an iteration, talking about the history of the guitar, which started as the Broadcaster turned Nocaster turned Telecaster, also the Esquire, which is the same guitar. I mean, we're talking about this guitar shape, this guitar neck, the one that started it all for Fender. You know, the Esquire, of course, had the single pickup, although many of them were modified to have the neck pickup as well. And then, is it still an Esquire, or does it become a Telecaster? Is a Broadcaster still? It's the same guitar. You see what I'm saying? They're all essentially iterations of the same guitar design. This guitar design has been used by Billy Gibbons, David Gilmour, Robin Ford, Johnny Lang, George Harrison, Joe Walsh, Mark Mark Knopfler, even Eric Clapton, believe it or not. These guitars have been used by a whole slew of artists for a whole slew of different things. Now, I'm going to focus on the rock and blues side of things today. Obviously, this is a guitar that is also synonymous with country. If you want to hear some great country Telecaster tones, go check out Steve Sterlacci and his channel. He does some really great Telecaster tones over on his channel. I'm going to focus on the rock and blues side of things. So let's hear a handful of different tones that the Fender Telecaster is capable of from a very, very simple design. Now, perhaps because of the versatility of this guitar and being used by so many different players, one of the things that I love about the Fender Telecaster, before I even picked up the guitar, before I even thought about picking up the guitar, many of the guitar tones that I fell in love with when I was younger, I didn't even realize it, but were all played and recorded on a Fender Telecaster. Whether you're talking about the Beatles, the Eagles, Queen, number of others. we all kind of have a picture of what perfect electric guitar tone is in our head. The tone that just sums up the guitar. Somebody says electric guitar, and that's the tone you think. For my wife Shannon, it's Angus Young on Back in Black. It's, of course, one of the reasons why I married her. My dad, for instance, absolutely loves the tone of Brian May. Something like the end of We Are the Champions or We Will Rock You. It just says that, to me, is what the electric guitar should sound like. I've always had a few different, slightly varying pictures, but I can tell you what tones always stuck out in my head as the perfect guitar tone. Joe Walsh at the end of Hotel California. Brian May on Crazy Little Thing Called Love. George Harrison on the Let It Be single, where he also used the rotary speaker. All those tones, Fender Telecaster. Now, they're all different, but they're all connected, and those were the tones that always stuck out in my head as like, that's what an electric guitar should sound like. Now, I have a unique Telecaster that's a sunburst one that I decked out to be very much like Joe Walsh's guitar, because that was really the single song, Hotel California, that got me wanting to play guitar. I've done a whole video recently just on this guitar. And what's especially interesting about that is the first two Telecasters I ever owned were sunburst Telecasters with maple fingerboards, and I had no idea that that was actually very much akin to the guitar that Joe Walsh used on what inspired me to play guitar. I found that out later after moving on from each of those guitars. So I finally got one of these guitars back and decked it out to be like Joe Walsh's Telecaster, which also happens to be very similar to one that David Gilmour used, which was actually an Esquire that had been formerly owned by Seymour Duncan. I'm going off on a tangent here. Let's hear some more tone. We talk about the tone that you hear in your head. One of the things that I absolutely love about the Telecaster, it's very hard to accurately describe what a good Tele neck tone is, and it's something that not every Telecaster can do, and I've done a whole video on this, which got a lot of responses. The interesting thing about it is that not every Telecaster can do this tone. Some Telecaster neck tones just sort of sound like generic single coil or like a Stratocaster pickup. And I think that's one of the reasons why one of the most popular mods you see on a Telecaster is to change the neck pickup. You see a lot of them that have, you name it, they have a wide range humbucker, they have a regular humbucker, they have a mini humbucker, they have a Charlie Christian pickup, they have a TV Jones Filtertron. There's all kinds of pickups that you will see the Telecaster neck change to. Well, you'll happen to notice that of all the Telecasters that I have, they all have the classic Tele neck pickup, and that's because there is this special, unique Tele neck tone that you can get with a low wind Telecaster neck pickup. Now, that's not the only factor involved, but it's definitely part of it. And the best way I can describe it is that the highs are present, they're not too sharp, but they're very, very present and clear. The lows are powerful, not too tight, but not too muddy. But then the mid-range is hollow and sort of sits back from the other frequencies. And you could describe it as it breathes. You could describe it as it's woody. The way that I like to describe it is it sounds like Carl Wilson's vocals on Beach Boys tracks. Go listen. It does. I seek out that Telecaster neck tone, and it's one of my absolute favorite tones. Interestingly enough, when I first kind of noticed it when I was playing Telecasters years and years ago, I wasn't crazy about it because I was searching more for the Stratocaster neck tone at that point in my life. Over the years, I really came to appreciate how unique and special that tone is. It's part of why this guitar is so versatile. It's part of why, for instance, you could use this for a blues gig or a jazz gig. And you see a lot of players getting these beautiful jazz tones with Telecasters. A couple of guys who come to mind when you talk about that Tele neck tone, certainly Bill Frisell is one of the top ones that I think of. Tab Benoit is one, Robin Ford. So let's check out some Tele neck tones here, because the Telecaster is often defined by its bridge pickup, its big, powerful twang aggressiveness, but the neck pickup is what really sells me on a Telecaster. When you wrap all those things together, there's just one more thing that I absolutely love about the Fender Telecaster. There's nothing better you can say about a guitar than it inspires music, and I have found that Telecasters inspire music, and one of the things that I have found with them is that I, not only in recording, but even in just playing, if I sit down and I pick one up and I plug it in, music kind of flows out a little bit easier than it might on some other guitars. So much so where I've come up with solos live on the spot that wound up being ones that I recorded later on, and had found at times too that this guitar is one of those guitars that just makes me, when I want a Telecaster sound, nothing else will satisfy. So those are all the reasons I love the Fender Telecaster. Why do you love the Fender Telecaster? Let us know in the comments below. Are you part of the Tele Cult? Because, oh yeah, it's cultish. It's serious. You look at some Telecaster players, they're serious. There are some people who are really into this guitar, and people who will absolutely swear this guitar is the greatest guitar ever, that is way better than any other electric guitar ever invented. And there's part of me that's kind of like, not entirely sure I'm part of that cult, but I want to go to their parties, you know what I'm saying? Let us know in the comments, why do you love the Fender Telecaster? Now, just to let you know, in this video I was plugging into a combination of a Fender Princeton and a Fender 57 Champ using a bunch of different Keeley pedals as pictured. You can see a full gear list in the description of everything that I was using, as well as what all of these different guitars are. I'm Jack Fossett. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Follow the links below where you can listen to some music, including tracks recorded with some of these guitars. And we'll see you next time.